It's funny because growing up, I never really considered the possibility of being in a position of authority or being in the creative fields at all. Politicians, religious leaders, doctors, lawyers, artists, those were things that other people did, not, some poor boy from West Virginia. I grew up in a small house back in the woods. It was kind of stereotypical trailer back in the holler. My entire family was very hardworking. My father worked in construction. At the age of probably 6 years old, I started working with him on the job site. When I wasn't in school, I was either working with one of my parents with their job, or I was out cutting firewood for the winter or taking care of the property that we lived on. But what I found is that more and more as I grew up, I would just go do my own thing regardless of what anybody else was doing. And more people seemed to be interested in whatever I was doing. They wanted to follow and see what it was all about. My mid-20s was a big turning point. I had moved out of state for work, and not too long after I moved there, the factory that I was working at closed down. And so I decided to go back to college and fell into photography and video work. What I wanted to use those skills for was to lay bare the world to others. I wanted to find things that most people didn't normally see, and whether it was just out of the way or it was purposely covered up by someone, I wanted to expose the world for what it really is, but also try to put a positive spin on it, to show people what beauty there is or can be in even relatively sad things.
I had the pleasure of being around my stepson now for quite a few years, and everybody likes him. It's hard to be around Micah for any amount of time, anybody, and not learn something very important from him, not see somewhere where you can make improvement. I remember one conversation I had with my stepson. I said, if something can go wrong, Micah, if you wait long enough, it will. Micah said, Kyle, I never looked at things like that. I always looked at it like, if something can go right, give it enough time and it will if you work towards that. Micah is very organized and efficient. He's very methodical in everything he does. He's not a procrastinator. In fact, he treats deadlines like the edge of a cliff. You never want to get too close to the edge. Well, Micah stays away as far as he can. He'll work 24 hours a day for 3 or 4 days in a row to meet that deadline. Sometimes we may be of modest means. We may not have much. And so sometimes we justify not doing something nice for someone else because we're just of modest means. Well, let me tell you, there's no one more modest than Micah. He really is a penny pincher. And yet he does so much for other people. He doesn't use that as any kind of justification not to. One lady says, "Is that your son?" I wished I could say yes. I wished I could say he was my son. If there's ever a debate that you're engaged in, it would be wonderful to have Micah on your side. He's a very quick thinker, and he's very logical, has very good thinking ability. If you ever debate with Micah, against Micah, all I can say is you better do your research very well and have all your ducks in a row.
I'm Micah Harshbarger, and I approve this autobiography.